Hello and welcome to the Catch a Lift Coaches Corner. I am Cal lead coach Melissa, and this week I am honored to have a veteran panel in honor of Veterans Day. Each one of today's guests is a Cal veteran athlete, and today we will discuss what it means to serve, be a veteran, and be a part of a community within Catch a Lift. Welcome to this week's episode of Coaches Corner. Jimmy Blockett, Joe Diachessim, Jason Livingston, Emily Ballou, and Nicole Elder, welcome and thank you for being here today on the Coaches Corner. I want to jump right in, guys, and ask you all a bit about your military service. Joe, let's start with you. How long did you serve and in what branch?
I was in for 5.5 years in the Army.
That's great. Joe, where did you deploy to?
In '08 to '09, so I did 12-month deployment to Afghanistan in the Lokar province.
Would you mind telling us what a kind of typical day was like for you in Afghanistan?
Yeah, so I was military police, but it was very different because I was in the 3rd Brigade Combat Team out of Fort Drum, New York. And in a BCT, there's only about like 40 or 50 MPs. So what we joke about is, MPs are multi-purpose, so they didn't really know what to do with us while we were there. Our main goal was to train the Afghan army, Afghan police. But a lot of times we ended up doing clearance, QRF, and even a couple of support missions with the SF guys or even with other countries like Czechoslovakia and France.
That's awesome. Thank you, Joe, for sharing that. Emily, let's swing over to you. What branch did you serve in and how long were you in the service?
Hi, Melissa. I serve in the U.S. Army for 16 years, 8 years active duty, and 8 years in the reserves.
Emily, where did you deploy to?
I've deployed to Afghanistan, Iraq, and other countries in Central Asia in support of medical operations and casualty evacuation.
You deployed multiple times, Emily. Do you kind of want to pick one of those deployments? And same thing, let's hear about what a typical day was like for you on deployment.
Sure. So as a young lieutenant, I deployed to Afghanistan in December of 2006 and was on a 17-month tour until the spring of 2008. I had 2 birthdays in country, which was a little bit weird.
Oh, wow.
But serving predominantly at the Role 3 Multinational Medical Unit in Kandahar Province, our American augmentation to a Canadian hospital served alongside Australian services, as well as Kiwi, Romanians, Jordanians. It was like a full-on NATO situation in the south of Afghanistan during that time. And we supported QRF for medical evacuation. We received casualties during any incidents in the south, or if the central or eastern areas were overrun with casualties or the helicopters couldn't get to those areas. We did a lot of patient contact forward as well as at the hospital. And we also pre-positioned those that were injured that needed to be evacuated from country, either to Bagram if they needed specific services before being evacuated out of country. And I handled the liaison responsibilities of contacting families so that we could give them an update from their soldier on the ground and prior to their evacuation.
That's incredible. Thank you, Emily.
Sure.
Jimmy, I want to swing over to you. Can you tell us what branch you served in and the amount of time you served, Jimmy?
Army, 27 years.
That's awesome. Jimmy, where were you deployed to?
Kuwait, Macedonia, and most importantly, Iraq.
Jimmy, what was a day like for you on a deployment?
Every day was a day of uncertainty. When we do air convoys or ground convoys, people before you, they didn't make it back home, so you never know if you were going to be next. I was blessed and fortunate that I didn't have to lose any limbs or anything of that nature, and I came back physically in one piece. Notice I said physically, mentally.
Yeah.
We all suffer.
Yeah. Thank you, Jimmy. Nicole, what branch of service did you serve? And well, actually multiple branches I know for you. What branches did you serve in and for how many years?
I was Navy, active duty Navy, and I was also Army National Guard. When I was in the Navy, I was a CTR. It was a cryptology specialist for collection intel. I was permanently stationed at the NSA in Fort Meade, Maryland. When I was in the Army, I had not yet gone to MOS school when I deployed, so I was kind of like this little person they didn't know what to do with. But I had an Army MOS, so they let me go. I did all kinds of things. I worked on a runway, pouring concrete for helipads at Kandahar Air Base. I worked in the TOC. I finally went out to a FOB and went out to another FOB, and I was the 50 cal gunner for my CO. And then when he went back to the rear, I got my own gun truck and I did QRF. I did convoy security on daily convoys. There was an engineering company that was building up the first road in Kandahar, between Kandahar and Bagram, actually, as Emily mentioned before. And that's what I did for quite a bit of it. And did a little medical stuff also. They needed a female. And the females there in country would not be seen by a male medic or a male doctor. So they gave me an aid bag and said, while you're going up to set up your OP, take this and take care of some folks.
Thank you, Nicole. Jason, what about you? Tell us your branch of service and how many years you were in.
I was in the United States Army for 10 years.
Jason, will you touch on where you deployed to and what a day was like for you on deployment?
Yeah, I was deployed to both Baghdad in 2005 and then in Afghanistan, Logar province in 2010. Pretty much same for each deployment. We ran interdiction patrols. We set up KLEs, pulled OPs, just different things. Primarily a bullet sponge, so all the things that go with that. And that was pretty much it, day to day. Go out on mission, come back, refit, get ready to go back out, get some sleep, eat some chow. So that was pretty much it. Just continuously rolling out the gate.
Yeah. Thank you, Jason. I want to transition a little bit with you guys now, and I want to talk about life after service. So I want to, kind of ask you, what was the most difficult part of integration back into civilian life following your service? And if you guys do feel comfortable, if you can touch on, maybe injuries or how they played a role in that too. Joe, I want to start with you.
Yeah, so I got out in 2013, medical discharge. When I was in the Army, I was, a lifer, as they say, but unfortunately, my body was telling me different. Right before they started the med board process, I had thrown out my back, and I was on a cane for about 6 weeks. In the course of 7 months, I ended up doing like 3 or 4 cortisol shots to my L5S1 area to kind of relieve the pain, but all those were short term. And because nothing was improving, and as time moved on, and with limited resources in the Army that I was getting, I wasn't getting any better. So they did the med board process, and unfortunately, because I was an MP, they threw me on the desk at the police station. They're at Fort Carson doing the overnight shift. They even attend appointments during the day because I was very tired the next day. And when I got out, it was tough. I initially got a job in security because that's, they're looking for military, they're looking for prior law enforcement, so it was easy. Then I found a position near my wife's job where she was working in New York. It was great. I was only there for 5 months though. Unfortunately, because of my TBI, I was having some memory issues. They had let me go because of a couple of mistakes. But it was a blessing in disguise because it led me to go back to school And I remember my wife asking me, you know, what do you want to do with your life? And it took until 25, 26 for me to say, I just want to give back to the veteran community. So I ended up finding a great social work program at Rutgers University here in New Jersey. And I got my master's in social work, and God bless, you know, I got a job at the Department of Veterans Affairs at East Orange here in New Jersey.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Joe. Emily, I want to swing over to you now. And, you know, same question. Can you talk to us a bit about, you know, that life after service and kind of, you know, how that looked for you?
Sure. So I transitioned from active duty to the reserves, and I think that was one of my biggest transitions because you go from living the Army lifestyle as one female to 200 dudes and supporting a culture of, as long as our guys and gals think that they have medical support backing them up, they'll go and do really awesome stuff and be really strong and ready for the consequences that they may be met with. And so the transition to the reserve community was a lot different because I still had like one foot in boots and then would put on pumps to go to my office job and like, wait, what is this like? And so I transitioned to working within the international trade community for logistics and containerized cargo. And a lot of that looks much the same as it does when you're doing movement into and out of country or moving assets around the battle space. So my transition work-wise was very easy. I was doing a lot of the same work. I currently work as a federal employee at the National Institutes of Health, and I do for NIH what I grew to love as a career in medical logistics and medical operations support for a research-based community. And we have a hospital that's the crown jewel of our American government, where we do tons of really cool research. And I'm able to see the effects of the work that we do, much like I did in the Army.
Oh, that's fascinating. Thank you, Emily.
Yeah, sure.
Jimmy, could you talk to us about life after service and what that brought for you?
Life after service, you lose the camaraderie that you normally have when you're in service with all your brothers and sisters. So basically, that just reverted me back to me, basically being a homebody, not trying to get out there and do anything with a lot of people, basically retreating into myself, basically, for the most part. And then, you know, I joined a couple organizations, and then Catch a Lift came along, and that was a godsend because I was able to connect with veterans on a daily basis. And, you know, your husband was first, and then you, and then the team that now I'm part of. It's been a blessing to be able to still reach out and be feeling like I got family, because I didn't want to go out and get a job and go back to SOCOM and work for them and just be another peon on the you know, ladder of going nowhere. So I became a fitness instructor, and that's all in respect to Catch a Lift.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Jimmy. Nicole, let's swing over to you. Will you talk to us about life after service?
I sucked like for a long time. I didn't know what I was doing. I had a purpose when I was in. I had a purpose when I was deployed. Similar to like when Emily was saying, I was the only female in my platoon for the whole time I was in, and I got out and I didn't really know what to do with that. I didn't really blend in when I went to PTA meetings. I didn't, you know, it was this weird check. So it took me quite a while, and I fell down pretty hard and gained a bunch of weight. I kind of medicated my PTSD with really bad food, and I wasn't doing well. And then I found Catch a Lift, and it helped me tremendously. I was working on the ambulance at the time. I was a medic, and I realized through Catch a Lift and also working in the field that there were other ways to treat things. So I went back to grad school. I wound up getting my master's in applied clinical nutrition, and I found you guys, and you kept me here.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Nicole. Jason, would you talk to us about what life after service has looked like for you?
Sure. Life after service for me has been quite challenging. I wasn't expected to get out whenever I did. I was medically retired in 2014. This was after my injury in 2010. I was transitioned to a WTU and went through that process and actually returned back to duty. So I PCS'd. I went from Schweinfurt, Germany to Fort Stewart, Georgia. And I had my own section. I had a new platoon. We were getting ready to deploy. And unfortunately, I got re-injured. And the PA was like, yeah, no, you're done. So that kind of set things up for me. As far as the next couple of years, I was in the med board process for, I think, a year and a half. And then I retired in 2014 in January. And then from there, it was just kind of like a downward spiral. Just kind of a snowball effect, kept going. I gained a lot of weight. I listened to everybody who told me that I couldn't do normal things. I bought into the hype that I was a disabled veteran, and that meant that I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do anything for myself. So early on, I was going to a lot of doctor's appointments, driving, an hour here, an hour there. Everything from nerve ablations to spinal injections to knee injections, everything. I'm pretty much jacked up from head to toe, if you can't tell. Again, you just kind of fell into that whole belief system that I couldn't do anything and that I was just disabled, and I was in a wheelchair, not really mobile, and just kind of bought into that and became very unhealthy. So I linked up with Catch a Lift in, I believe, 2015 was whenever I first came into the program. And within the first year, I was out of the wheelchair. I was walking, assisted with a cane and double arm crutches. And then after that, about another, I think about 8 to 12 months, I was walking unassisted. I transitioned from being a grant recipient to become one of the certified coaches for Catch a Lift. And I've just been, chipping away at things ever since then. And that's kind of been my saving grace, was the hope that Catch a Lift gave to me, the hope that they provided that I could be and I could do, who I am. And for those that don't know me, you want to call me a gym rat, a meathead, whatever it is. I live, eat, breathe, gym life 24/7. That's who I am. And that has become my new mission, is to continue to teach, coach, and mentor our veterans that are in our program, those that are coming into the program, and hope to serve as an inspiration that just because somebody tells you that you have to be a certain way doesn't mean that you have to accept that. And that's just kind of who I am, and that's what I am, and that's what I love about being in Catch a Lift, is that continuation to be able to serve soldiers on any level, and just continue to help.
Thank you, Jason. It's always so interesting, like this one. It's a group of vets like we all here, just, talking about our experiences, even though, they're different from each of us individually. There's certainly a lot of similarities. I'll just touch a bit on my post-service life. I got home from Iraq in December of 2005. And, I lost nearly a decade to chronic pain and post-traumatic stress. And, there was, very, very low points of it where I could do nothing but just lay on a couch in a dark room. I had no self-worth, certainly no self-love. I felt like I had lost my tribe from the military. And I came into Catch a Lift in 2016. And, started saying yes to opportunities as they came my way and found a love for strength sports, specifically the sport of strongman. And, through the empowerment and resources from Catch a Lift, I've never turned back. I've certainly found my strength and I know my worth now. So, like you all, Catch a Lift certainly played a very big role on my recovery post-service. So I want to ask you all now a bit about, Veterans Day. And starting out, I want to ask you, what does Veterans Day mean to all of you? I want to start again with you, Joe.
Yeah, thank you. Veterans Day, is pretty important to me personally because every day I'm serving veterans in my job and I'm giving back to, my fellow service members, and it's gratifying for me. And in the everyday hustle and bustle, we kind of forget what veterans did for us. And I know a lot of times you got the big Memorial Day parades and Veterans Day parades, and a lot of people kind of mix in the two. But I always like to keep Memorial Day dedicated for what it is for, and Veterans Day, I like to honor everybody who did serve. I tell everybody that I work with and everybody I talk to that's a vet, regardless whether you deployed or not, you raise your right hand and you sign that blank check. So Veterans Day is just sort of like a refresher. Like everybody goes on Lent and they dedicate time to kind of God and their religion. Veterans Day is sort of like a refresher for veterans to me. And I love to give back to the veteran community and to bond with those in my community.
Thank you, Joe. Emily, what does Veterans Day mean to you?
Well, as I started thinking about this in preparation for having Veterans Day next week, I started thinking about when I was young and growing up in small town America, out in southeastern Massachusetts. We had a Veterans Day parade. And I remember just seeing all of the old guys and gals with like the funny VFW hats on, or the Korean War veteran hats with the banners and stripes on them, and having really fruitful conversations with my dad and granddad, who also served, and just learning more about the history of our family's service. And I myself never had plans to join the military. It kind of happened post 9/11 as a call to service. I was in college. And so Veterans Day is pretty neat for me, especially now as a mom. I have two young kids, they're 5 and 6. And our local elementary school has a really cool program where they recognize the parents. And last year, my husband is also a veteran, and the Army issued me a husband. How cool is that? But we walked into school with our daughter, who was just beaming with pride that she had one of us on each side. And so for me, it's an opportunity to share the military history that you might not otherwise see in our communities, and to take pause and see really what's happening, what has happened, and to teach the next generation what it's all about.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Emily.
Yeah.
Jimmy, what does Veterans Day mean to you?
Veterans Day is important to me. My mother and father are both veterans. I have uncles that are all veterans. So for those who are brave enough that didn't get drafted, to sign up, to raise their right hand to say that I want to serve my country and send me wherever you need me to be, those are true Americans in every sense of the word. So just to be a part of that was easy for me. My mother, she signed me up basically right out of high school. I came home one day and the recruiter was sitting at my table, and he was like, "Here, sign here, see you in 6 months." I said, "Whoa." So, and I've been saying "whoa" for the rest of my life. So I'm proud to be a veteran. If I could still be active, I would be, but they say there's a time and a place for you and you're too old. So now you're a veteran. So just glad to be in that master class.
Absolutely, Jimmy. I couldn't agree more. Thank you. Nicole, what does Veterans Day mean to you?
It may sound weird. I didn't think of it as a different day than any other day for a really long time. I think that was part of avoiding everything like I did when I came back and got out. And um, one day, it was probably 5 years ago or so, I went to a Veterans Day ceremony locally. And I didn't, it was me and a bunch of World War II veterans, Vietnam veterans, and it was wonderful. But I ran into the parents of one of the guys that I deployed with who had killed himself the year before. And that kind of like hit me at home. And I thought, you know, um, this is something. And even if it's not something, maybe for me right now, I needed it to be something. And it was something for other people. And that kind of brought me back around to, I said I was in a platoon of all guys. And every year we text, and I was always kind of whatever, but we all have a little group text message. And including, there's like 5 guys, me and my old first sergeant. And first sergeant called us Neanderthals. We actually had a tab, and that's what we were. And so every year now on Veterans Day, we keep in touch. A lot of guys don't drink anymore, but that's what we do. We communicate, we send pictures, kind of think back on things, and it helps ground, which is, I thought, unusual. I thought it would make me focus on things I didn't want to focus on, but it actually helps ground me and put me into a better place for the next year forward.
Thank you, Nicole. Jason, what does Veterans Day mean to you?
So for me, Veterans Day is a celebration of, not only my sacrifice, but those who came before me and are going to come after me. Just like Jimmy said, you raise your right hand and you make that pledge, you make that oath to stand up for what you believe in for your country. You accept all those choices that you made whenever you sign your contract. So for me, it's just a celebration of that, celebration of all the sacrifices that we make as veterans or as soldiers on a day-to-day basis, whether it's time away from family, whether it's multiple deployments, whether it's you're stuck at work and you miss a birthday. It's all those sacrifices that we willingly make to keep America free, to keep freedom alive in our country. As each one of us knows, being a veteran and being deployed to several different places, not a lot of people have that option. They don't have that choice. And me, as a free American, I value that. And for me, that's what Veterans Day is just a celebration of all that, a celebration of the legacy that I continued whenever I enlisted, whether or not from my grandfather to me to whoever else comes after me. It's just a celebration of that legacy.
Thank you, Jason. The next question I want to pose to you all is about the flag and what it means to you. Joe, talk to us about the flag and what it means to you.
To me, the flag, it's freedom, and it's everything I fought for, and just like almost everyone on here, most of my family served in the military. Even my wife, both her parents and her sister served in the Army. So the flag is a symbol of everything we did and we fought for, and those before us that they fought for. And everywhere I go, I'm always ensuring to have a flag with me, whether it's on my car, on my house. It's a love I have for the flag.
Thank you, Joe. Emily, talk to us about the flag.
Sure. So for me, it's a unifying banner. When I first came in to the Army, we didn't wear the American flag on our uniform. If anyone remembers back to the BDU and, you didn't have a flag on your uniform. It wasn't until Congress declared war that we started wearing our flag on our right shoulder, and then the combat patch would be underneath. And so to see the unification and to be able to look out across a sea of uniforms in a combat environment where not everyone was American, it was just the reminder, like, wait, we really are everywhere. Speaking in a deployment environment. And then, of course, it goes into sport here. I think probably Olympians would say the same thing, that it's their banner, it's their rally. And seeing it on public buildings, just reminding us that no matter how much division we may have, especially now in our current political environment, that it's really a grounding and a banner to rally around.
Thank you, Emily.
Yeah.
Jimmy, what does the flag mean to you?
Yeah, just a caveat off of what Emily said. I was thinking on the same line. This is a unification banner. This is something that when it's flown, we can be proud and we can hold our heads high because we represent what that flag is all about. And we will kill, if need be, for anybody to try to desecrate it, especially for any veteran. It's so near and dear to the heart. It's like somebody come up and slap your mother. What would you do? So if somebody desecrated the flag, they can expect to catch some lead. This is the one time when you see it that you can get total silence. Everybody just snaps to when that flag is flown. And anybody that disrespected, they're going to catch heat. So it's all about unifying the Americans.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you. Nicole, tell me about the flag.
I grew up in Ohio, and it was small town farms and things like that, and that was just a part of life, all the time, and every day. And I didn't know until I left there that what a big deal it was going to be. It's something that moves me. Like I still, watching a football game or something even on the TV, and I still feel that. I get this like hitch in my chest when it plays, and it's us, it's our country. We are definitely not perfect at all, but this is all of us, and that's we gotta. That's us unified. That's us together. No matter what we are when we are together, that is us, and that's my kids. My son, my youngest, is 8, and from like age 6, he can be walking anywhere in the world, and he will stop if he sees a flag and do this. I mean, says a pledge. I mean, it's just randomly wherever, for in a mall or whatever. And I've tried to instill that in them. I'm proud to be from America. I'm proud to be an American, and I'm very patriotic, probably to a little bit of a cheesy level, but that's who I am.
Thank you, Nicole. Jason, will you talk to us about the flag?
For me, the flag just means home. Plain and simple. You come home after a long day of work. You've been out somewhere, or whenever I left the United States and was stationed in Germany for 4 years, you kind of come to see the American flag as a representation of home. It's something that cares for you. It's something that keeps you safe, just like our home does for us. And then whenever you take that final step and you see a soldier's coffin draped with a flag, it just means that we're protecting them. We're protecting our nation. So for me, it's just a representation of home. I can remember getting off the plane at Fort Hood, and then whenever I came back from Baghdad, and you see the flag flying there, and it's like, okay, yeah, I'm home. It's the best feeling in the world. So that every time I see the flag, that's what it means to me. That's what it feels like to me, is just home.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you all for talking about the flag and what it means to you. So much of that, hit very home with me. I love the flag so very much. I've always told people, I've never been shy about it. The greatest honor in my life was to wear that flag on my shoulder and, serve our country and more. To me, there was just no greater honor. To me, the flag is, like you guys said, it's unity, it's home, it's our banner of protection. So thank you all for serving our great nation and our flag, and we're going to keep rolling here. The next thing I want to talk to you all about is serving in a time of war. Joe, looking back now, what does it mean to you to have served your country in a time of war?
When I joined in 2007, I remember specifically being in the recruiter office, and the recruiter, for some reason, I don't know why he was trying to back me out of it, but he asked, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad do you want to get in? And I told him, 11. And he's like, you do realize that you will more than likely end up in Iraq or Afghanistan. And I was like, hell yeah. And like I said earlier, I have family members, at least one male from every generation that served in the Army. And although I grew up thinking I would never join the Army, somewhere around 18, 19 years old, I got a swift kick in my behind, and I felt extremely patriotic, and I felt like I had to do it. Like it was a calling almost, sort of like my calling into my current career. So even though there was a time of war, that wasn't stopping me at all. If anything, it pushed me deeper in and made me join sooner.
Thank you, Joe. Emily, what does it mean to you looking back to have served your country in war?
As much as I love to serve alongside my brothers and sisters, and that it's definitely part of it, wanting to be part of a team and part of a greater good. I was an undergrad and I wanted retribution for September 11th. And that was the most immediate thing that I could do. And so I stayed in school and joined ROTC and learned over the next 3 years before commissioning about how I could best serve. But it was definitely a fire of like wanting to do damage to those who did damage to us.
Thank you, Emily. Jimmy, what does it mean to you to have served your country in war?
It means that I raise my right hand to do whatever needs to be done. And I was in AIT at the time of Desert Shield, Desert Storm. So I had just missed that war. But they asked who wanted to go, and I raised my hand, and I was in AIT. They said, you in AIT, put your hand down. I said, why'd you even ask then? Because I'm ready to go to war if that's what it takes. So going to Kuwait and, almost getting to Saddam twice, but he chickened out, so that war didn't happen. So it kind of pissed me off. And then later on in life, actually going to Macedonia, and then later on to Iraq. Serving wars is what we do as soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines. This is what we're ready to do. We're signed up for this. We don't look for it, but if you put it in our face, we're going to go to war.
Thank you, Jimmy. Nicole, what does it mean to you to have served our great country in war?
I had done an enlistment and in the Navy, and I got out. And then I had a really good civilian job, and 9/11 happened, and it pissed me off. It really pissed me off. I was in Alabama for work at the time, and I thought, oh my God, this is where I'm going to be. And so I went back, and I literally walked into the recruiter's office within weeks of going back home. And I did it intentionally. I wanted to go to war. I wanted to go fight. I mean, I want to, I'm not like some like, Rambo shit, but I wanted to go hold people accountable. This is our country. And that wasn't okay. That was not okay with me. I didn't have kids at the time, but I still have family, and this is where I'm from. And it was angry. I was very determined, especially then, to go and fight when we were at war. I had done the whole, the deployment, and that was, not the deployment. I done my first enlistment, and that was, quasi interesting, but I really wanted more than that. And so I switched services and joined back up.
Thank you, Nicole. Jason, what does it mean to you to have served our great country in war?
So for me, I had actually just gotten out of the Navy right before 9/11 happened. I was, I don't know, maybe a week or two out of the Navy, and I was sitting there at the kitchen table in the morning drinking coffee and seeing 9/11 unfold on the news. And you sit there and you stare at the screen on the TV, and you just stare at disbelief. But my first thought after that was, just like Emily and Nikki said, it was I wanted to hold people accountable. I wanted retribution for the attack on our country, and at the same time, I wanted it to be me instead of my kids going to war. Or anybody else in my family. I would rather it be me, burden that shoulder that burden than my kids. And as a dad, you always want to make the world a better place for your kids, and that's where where that decision came from. So, it wasn't long after that I reenlisted back into the military. I chose specifically go to the Army. I chose a combat MOS specifically so I could be right there on the front lines, getting at it every single day, every mission. That was the whole thought process, was to one, I wanted revenge, and then two, I wanted to make sure that this didn't happen, that they didn't bring that level of violence or war to the United States ever again.
Thank you, Jason. Wow. Yeah. For, my whole life, the plan, I always knew I wanted to be a soldier. However, I remember 9/11, and I remember sitting in the high school parking lot in the car, listening to them talk about that first tower being hit, walking into the high school, the TV's on, and physically seeing that second plane hit the tower live. And it stopped my heart. And I knew right then, without a doubt, any doubt or trepidation that was there was washed away. And I knew I would join the Army. And not only that, I would go to war and fight. I left high school a semester early, my senior year, to go and get basic and AIT done because that's what I wanted. I wanted to go to war. I was mad, like you all touched on, this can't ever happen here again. This cannot happen to my family. Don't bring that to our country. So I, got in the military. I reclassed as an 88 Mike, and I deployed to Iraq as a HET driver. That was, the closest to the fight I could get, and, going all across the country on convoys. But like I said before, that was the thing that brings me most pride in my life, is having served my country and our flag in war. Thank you all for talking about that. The last thing I want to talk to you all about today is Catch a Lift. I know we're all here today because Catch a Lift has had a tremendous impact in our lives, in many different ways. So the first thing, and we've touched on it a little bit, but I want to highlight it again. I want to talk about how Catch a Lift has impacted your individual lives. Joe, I'll start with you.
I would go to one of the core pillars of community. So I remember when I initially applied, I got told there's an 18-month wait list, and so they gave me access to the landing zone. I didn't know anyone, and I'm gonna shout her out. But Nicole, it really, really reached out to me, really made me feel like family. She really always texting me and checking in on me and my family and helping me out when she can. And then she connected me with Jason Smith. Um, Through the podcast with you, Melissa, I got to connect with Jason Livingston. And now I know Kaylee and Lynn. And although I haven't seen any of you in person, I feel like we're family. And I feel like I've been in this for more than, a year and a half, 2 years. So Catch a Lift, the community has been amazing. And it's something like we talk about where what we lost. But we lost that tribe when we left the military. And Cal has really brought that tribe back together, even though even now with COVID and everything, it has really maintained the community and if anything strengthened. And once we do get back in person, I know it's going to be amazing.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joe. Emily, I'll go to you next. How has Catch a Lift impacted your life?
Well, physically healing through fitness has been tremendous for me. I've been so grateful for the structure and the accountability of when I was active and going to the gym, knowing that my record was going to be checked to make sure I went to the gym X number of times per week, that somebody was investing in my recovery through a grant was really, really significant. The other piece of that is that I assimilate pretty well into the community that I'm in Central Maryland, working, as Nicole said, going to the PTA. Like I can put on my skinny jeans and a popover and show up, and most people don't know I'm a veteran. And so with that, it comes a little bit of like imposter syndrome, right? Like, okay, I'm out here, I'm part of the community, and I'm part of a lot of more niche community that as a female veteran, for one, I may not be recognized as a predominantly old male veteran group that's around. But Catch a Lift, through especially the Women's Fitness Initiative, Melissa, has really helped find home for me. So thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
Sure.
Jimmy, what impact has the Catch a Lift Fund had on your life?
It's a great impact. To be a recipient of the grant was an awesome thing. I thought it was special just to get the resistance band, even though David knew that band wasn't really doing me much justice. So, he had to invest all the way up to the black one. So he said, "You're probably the only one that's really going to use this thing."
That's awesome and true.
That was pretty cool. And then actually, you all having the faith in me to be an ambassador and actually work with other veterans. That was a real cool part. And then after that, having the faith to say, yes, do you want to be a coach? And I was like, wow, this is great. So this is a family within a family, and the community is growing daily. And to be able to touch other veterans through the resistance program, using the bands and, watching the podcast and actually talking to the coaches when we have our coaches meeting, when not cooking and doing all the other stuff I had to do that distracts me from being on there with you all. It has been a massive impact. And then with the COVID, being a recipient, I have my own equipment that I can deal with, so I don't have to go fight in the gym and risk getting sick or getting my children sick. So I'm very grateful to be part of this family, and hopefully we have many more years together.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jimmy. Nicole, I want to ask you, what impact has Catch a Lift had on your life, and what does it mean to you to be a Catch a Lift athlete?
They saved my life. You guys saved my life. I was not in a good place. I didn't know what to do with myself. I had gained a shitload of weight. I was hurt. I was injured, and I kept trying to do the same things I did before I was hurt. And I that's, what you push through, you soldier on. And I kept doing those things over and over again. And I kept re-injuring and re-injuring. I had 4 surgeries in 4 years on one body part. And then the catch lift came along, and this is the longest I've been without surgery, which is stupid sounding, but this is the longest I've been without surgery in years. And you guys have been phenomenal. I never thought about the fact that maybe I had to change and do something different. I just wanted to do what I could do before. And I first realized that with you guys, that it's, I can still do. I'm still just as strong as I was before. I'm just maybe strong a little bit differently. And I met some crazy badasses in catch lift, and I was like, I got nothing to complain about. And so I don't. I'm here, and I do, and I'm grateful for catch lift.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nicole. Jason, what impact has the Catch a Lift Fund had on your life?
Honestly, I don't even know where to begin with that. Cal has had a huge impact on everything within my life. One major impact is I don't rely on a wheelchair. I don't rely on crutches or canes to walk with. That was a huge first step. I got to a point in my life where I gave up. I no longer cared whether I lived or died. That just didn't matter. Getting linked in with Catch a Lift, I've had several journeys along the way. One, the first one was getting into Catch a Lift, which from the bottom of my heart, I'm still to this day very, very grateful. Just like we all know it, Catch a Lift has saved my life in more ways than one, physically and mentally. Catch a Lift has provided that plug into fitness, and honestly, for me, physical fitness is probably the best form of medication, both physically and mentally. And the other impact that Catch a Lift has had is allowing me to continue to serve, soldiers, Marines, veterans, and allowing that interaction and continue to teach, coach, and mentor. You take the uniform off and you think, okay, I'm done. But having that interaction with veterans through Catch a Lift, still being allowed to do that is very, very special.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Jason. The last question I want to ask you all is, what does it mean to be a Catch a Lift Fund veteran athlete? Joe, let's start with you.
It means a lot. Like I said, Nicole has really grabbed me and introduced me to everyone and really laid a great foundation for what Cal represents. And being a recipient, I remember when I got the call in, I think December of 2019, it was amazing. And like Emily said, being able to go to the gym, having that accountability, having people check in on me, having my coaches calls and people, coaches giving me, different workouts for how to, protect my back and to strengthen and take care of myself has helped me not just physically, but mentally. And it has really helped me to kind of reconnect with people instead of kind of being a homebody and isolating to myself. It's just receiving the grant has been amazing to me in my life.
Thank you, Joe. Emily, what does it mean to you to be a Catch a Lift athlete?
It means that somebody believes that I can recover, and that investment in a grant means that somebody believes we should have alternatives other than just being given a whole bunch of pharmaceutical therapies or talk therapy. A lot of people respond to those treatments fine. And I think that, as has been said by my panel mates here, that physical endorphin and the high, the rush, the adrenaline, being able to really use your body as a machine and have your body heal yourself, and the go between the physical and the emotional and the chemical, and just being encouraged to eat the right foods to fuel that machine, and to know that someone believes we can recover. I mean, in the years since the Vietnam War, the years since the Korean War, we see a lot in our veteran populations, and I don't want us to be that as a post 9/11 group. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Jimmy, what does it mean to you to be a Catch a Lift Fun veteran athlete?
To be a Catch a Lift Veteran Fun athlete means that someone had faith in me to put me back in a leadership role, to be able to go out there and, as Jason loves to say, as we say as soldiers, teach, mentor, and train. That's what it's all about. As long as we can do that, we know we have purpose. And as long as we have purpose, we know we have life. And if we have life, we are going to give life to others who feel that they have no life to give. So it's just an outstanding honor to be a Cal athlete. And I'm very grateful to Lynn and the whole foundation and the Catch Lift Coaches Corner and everybody on the team. And for those who haven't made it to the team yet, when they do come, I'm just proud to be there.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jimmy. Jason, what does it mean to you to be a Catch a Lift veteran athlete?
For me, it means removing all excuses. We all have injuries. We all have things that we deal with. Catch a Lift has been that excuse remover, if you will, to continue to better myself, regardless of how I feel, regardless of what injury that I may be dealing with. I know for me, as a Catch a Lift athlete and as one of the coaches, I have to continue to make myself better. I have to seek self-improvement, and the only way that I can do that is to continue doing what I'm doing, to continue to help work alongside Catch a Lift. And a big part of that for me, and I know that I've shared this with you before in the past, Melissa, and I've shared it with Lynn. It's also every time I step into that gym, every time I'm under a bar, every time I'm deadlifting, and whatever it is I'm doing in the gym, every single time I do that, I am taking a small piece of that part that I thought that I lost in Afghanistan whenever I was injured. I am taking that moment in time back from that man that tried to kill me. I'm taking that excuse back. I'm taking that injury back. I'm taking that part of my life back from them, and I'm not letting that dictate who I am or who I'm going to become. So that's what it means for me to be Catch a Lift, and that's what I hope that I can help impress upon other veterans, is to take back that moment in time where we were considered damaged, where we were considered less than what we were, and become something greater. Right now, today, I'm stronger now than I was whenever I was on active duty. And I will continue to be that way, and I will continue to live that example.
Wonderfully said, Jason. Thank you. Thank you all for talking about that. I know, just to touch on that for myself, it means a great deal to me to be a Catch a Lift veteran athlete. I take great pride in it, and echo much of the sentiment you all said. It's a push, to continue to make myself, not only a better athlete, but a better wife and mother and just overall member of my community. It's it's a wonderful thing because I'm able to connect with other like-minded veterans in that way. And I'm so very grateful, to the Catch a Lift Fund for everything they do and to carry that title of Catch a Lift athlete. I take a lot of pride in that. Thank you all again. That's it for this week's episode of Coach's Corner. We will return next Wednesday at 1 Eastern Time with another new episode. Thank you to all of our guests today for sharing your story and your light with us. But most of all, thank you for your service to our great country. Thank you to ID Technology for your continued support of all things Catch a Lift, the podcast, website, Landing Zone. Thank you so much, ID Technology. Thank you to our newest sponsor, ClearBridge. Thank you for sponsoring 14 Days to Catch a Lift. And thank you, ClearBridge, for sponsoring this special edition of the Coach's Corner. A huge thank you to Lynn Coughlin, Henry Pomper, Kaylee Nasiri for your continued work on this podcast to make it possible, and to the entire Catch a Lift team. And until next week, keep it real and stay Cal strong.